G'day and welcome to Inside Rugby. If you haven't been here before, my name is Mark. I'm a Kiwi rugby fan who's living in beautiful Cancun in Mexico. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about my team selection I've created for a Northern Hemisphere versus a Southern Hemisphere game. So check it out in this video. Okay, so welcome back. It's good to have you all here and plenty of things to talk about with rugby. And one of the things that I noticed throughout the Rugby World Cup was a very healthy banter going on online about the prowesses of Northern Hemisphere teams and the strength of them versus the strength of the Southern Hemisphere team. So I thought, as a bit of fun, I'd put together two teams, one to represent the Northern Hemisphere and one to represent the Southern Hemisphere. Wouldn't that be a good game if we could get to see that at some stage? And I've made sure I've included 23 players in each squad today. So let me know what you think of these two respective squads, and be really interested to hear your comments or read your comments in the comments section of this video. So why don't we get into it and have a look at, first of all, my selection for the Northern Hemisphere team, and we'll start off in the forwards. Okay, so let's start off in the back three of the forwards, and at number 8 I've put Ben Earl from England. I thought he played really well throughout the Rugby World Cup. He was instrumental in a lot of the English games, and I thought he played really well in that game against South Africa as well. So he gets the nod as number 8 in my Northern Hemisphere team in the forwards. Okay, so looking at the flankers for my Northern Hemisphere team, and I'm going with Josh van der Flier from Ireland. And on the other flank, I'm putting Gregory Aldrit from France. I know he's a number 8, but he also plays in the flank, and he's an exceptionally good player, and I couldn't leave him out of this team. So I've put Gregory Aldrit in there and then moving into the locks. Well, this was a tough one for me, but I've gone with Ty Byrne from Ireland, and I've gone with Woki from France. I thought Woki had a really good World Cup for France. He was very good in open play as well as being good in the set pieces. And a guy like him in this team I think would be really exceptional. So Byrne and Woki in the locking positions for the Northern Hemisphere. Okay, moving into the front row, and this one was again a tough one to choose, but I've gone with 2 Frenchmen and an Irishman in the front row, and we've got Cyril Bay and Antonio as the props and Dan Sheehan as the hooker of this team. So I think that would be a pretty mighty front row to start the game for the Northern Hemisphere. Okay, let's look at the forward reserves that I bring on for the Northern Hemisphere, and they start off with Joe Marler, and then Richie Gray from Scotland would get a nod for me. Andrew Porter would also be in there. Can't leave out Malvaca from France as well, and the final one would be Courtney Laws from England. So they would be my 5 subs that would come on for the Northern Hemisphere. Let me know what you think of that forward pack, including the reserves. Now let's have a look at the back line that I put together for this Northern Hemisphere team, and I want you just to think for a minute that my strategy with this team selection is looking at the potency of scoring points. So I see this as a team that can really be an expansive, open running team of rugby players. So bear that in mind when I go through this selection. So at number 9 I've put Antoine Dupont. He would be the captain of this team, and no doubt about it, his prowess at number 9, both from a running perspective and also from a kicking strategically perspective, would be very handy in this team. And then outside Dupont, I've decided to put Mathieu Jalibert, and I really like Jalibert. I think he's an untapped source at number 10 for France. I think he's going to be one of the future superstars of the game. He's very good, both strategically from a kicking point of view, but he also knows how to do some very good runs from number 10. So I've put Jalibert in there as my number 10. And then outside Jalibert, Bundy Arki. We can't go past Bundy in terms of the 12 position. And then outside Bundy Arki, I've gone with Guy Ficou from France. Yes, I saw him do some really good things at the Rugby World Cup. I think he's got a lot of potential to break through defences, and I've decided to put Ficou in there as my Northern Hemisphere outside centre. Let me know what you think about that selection. And then the back three, that was a difficult choice as well. A lot of good players in the Northern Hemisphere, of course, but again, looking at expansive play opportunities to score tries and get points. That's what I was focused on with this team selection. So my two wingers for this team would be Louis Biel-Biarri from France and James Lowe from Ireland. I think those two have particular skill sets that would be really great in this team. And don't forget, James Lowe with that left foot kick is very important when it comes to clearing out from the line and just getting general territory gains as well. So James Lowe and Biel-Biarri on the wings for me in my Northern Hemisphere team. And at fullback, it's Thomas Ramos. And again, I really like what I saw from Ramos in the French team in the Rugby World Cup. This guy's a point scoring machine. He's great off the kicking tee, but he also joins that back line, and he's good in defence as well, Ramos. So he gets the nod for me in the Northern Hemisphere. Okay, 3 back reserves for this team, and again, this was a difficult selection, but I've decided to go with Finn Russell from Scotland, of course, Gibson Park from Ireland, and the third one, Hugo Keenan from Ireland as well, to cover a number of positions in the back line. So 2 Irishmen in my back reserves along with Finn Russell. I think bringing them on at different times of the game could actually change the strategic intent of the game and be very good assets for this Northern Hemisphere team. So there you go, there's my Northern Hemisphere squad for a potential game against the Southern Hemisphere. Let me know, I'm sure there's plenty of those positions that you would contest, and let me know what players you would swap out, but I think that's a pretty good team. Okay, let's flip over now to the Southern Hemisphere team, and we'll have a look at their forwards first of all. And we'll start off in the back row with the back 3 of my selection. And number 8, it's Ardie Savea from the All Blacks. Can't go past Ardie for my Southern Hemisphere number 8. He's the player of the year, played absolutely fantastic rugby this year and really deserves to be in that slot, I think. And then my flankers would be Levani Botia from France and Peter Steph de Toy from South Africa. So 2 different styles of flanker there. Botia is fantastic in the breakdown and is a very good general around the field, and I think he definitely deserves to be in this Southern Hemisphere team that I've selected. So there you go, there's my back 3 for the Southern Hemisphere team. Okay, carrying on with my forward selection for the Southern Hemisphere team, and looking at the locks, I would finally put 2 players together that I would love to see play together. Eben Etzebeth from South Africa and Sam Whitelock from New Zealand. I think this would be an awesome locking combination, and they'd be very good both around the ground, getting broken down play and getting involved in rucks and mauls, but also very good in the set piece. So Etzebeth and Sam Whitelock for me in the locks. Okay, looking at the front row I've put together for the Southern Hemisphere team, and there might be some contestants out there from you guys to think that I got this one wrong, but I'm going with these 3. I think they're very good players. And first of all, we have Ox Nchai, and Ox is absolutely fantastic, of course, and would be in any of my world teams or Southern Hemisphere teams, and he makes it in as a prop in this team. For the hooker, I'm going to go with Julian Montoya from Argentina. Yes, I think he's a great leader. He also played really well throughout the Rugby World Cup. He's one of those players that goes for 80 minutes, gives his all, and has got a very high skill set in terms of execution around the field. So Montoya makes it in as my hooker for this team. And then my other prop in this team is going to be my favorite man, my man beast, over 150 kilos, and that's right, it's Ben Tamiafanuna from Tonga. Absolutely fantastic player and deserves to be in the Southern Hemisphere squad of 23. So there you go, there's my run-on forwards for this team, the Southern Hemisphere team that I would pick to play against the Northern Hemisphere. Now, okay, so looking at my forward reserves that I put in this team, and we start off with the Kiwi Dane Coles. I think he would be a great replacement to come on and give that extra energy in the second half of this game. And then 2 South African Springboks in RG Schneeman, the Beast, the Viking, and then we have Quagga Smith, of course, and of course Quagga can come on and take over a number of roles. Then we have another Kiwi in Brodie Retallick that I would bring on as a reserve. And then my final reserve for this team would be Angus Bell from Australia. I think he's been playing brilliant rugby this year, one of the Australian standouts in this current squad, and I thought he did very well at the Rugby World Cup despite the performance of the rest of the Australian team. So there we go, there's my forward reserves for the Southern Hemisphere team to take on the Northern Hemisphere. Let me know what you think of those selections in the forwards. Now let's have a look at the backs that I would choose for a Southern Hemisphere team. And again, I put the emphasis on attacking play, running rugby, and trying to score a lot of tries. So that's been the emphasis of my selection criteria here for the Southern Hemisphere backline. And I start off at number 9, and it's got to be Aaron Smith for me. I think he's a brilliant general around the base of the scrums and the mauls, but he's also very good at doing those igniting, darting runs from the rucks, and also good at distributing the ball out to his back. So Aaron Smith gets the nod for me at number 9. At number 10, Manny Lebok. And I just really like this guy. I think by the time we get to the next Rugby World Cup in Australia, Manny Lebok is going to be one of the superstars of world rugby at number 10 for South Africa, and he gets my nod in this team. And I'd really like to see him and Aaron Smith playing together. I think that would be a really, really good combination. And then moving out to number 12, inside centre. And for me, it's Tuiasova from Fiji. I saw enough of him at the Rugby World Cup to get excited about. He's another man mountain that's able to penetrate through defences, and he's got a good execution set as well. So Tuiasova gets into number 12 for me in this team for the Southern Hemisphere. And then outside Tuiasova, at outside centre, I'm putting Jesse Creel. I think his offence and defence in the Rugby World Cup this year was outstanding, and he very much deserves to be in the Southern Hemisphere team as far as I am concerned. And then looking outside there, those guys, and looking on the wings, I've decided to go with 2 try-scoring machines in Will Jordan and Cheslin Colby. I think those 2 guys would be sensational in the same team together. And at fullback, I've gone with Damien Willemse. I just think Willemse brings something different to the fullback position. He's got a lot of strength, a lot of power. He's good with his kicking as well. And I'd like to see him get really involved in backline moves with this particular team. I think they would be absolutely awesome. So there you go. There's my starting backs for the Southern Hemisphere team. Let me know again in the comments what you think of those selections. I'm sure you'll come up with a couple of alternatives. Now, when you sit down and do this actual exercise to put together these 2 teams, it's very difficult. There's a lot of good players out there, and depending on what type of team you want to select will determine what type of players you end up with. So looking at my back reserves, again, I've gone and kept with that running style of play in mind. And the 3 back reserves for the Southern Hemisphere I've decided to select is Beauden Barrett, Faf de Klerk, and Damien Dealandi. So there you go, 3 great players to bring off the bench for the Southern Hemisphere team, and players that can really change the game as well, either from an offensive or defensive perspective. So there you go, there's my 23 for the Southern Hemisphere to take on the Northern Hemisphere. I'd love to see World Rugby put somewhere in the schedule this game, because I think it would be really, really exciting for us fans. And I think we'd start to get a really good rivalry between North and South over the years if this became a regular fixture. Let me know what you think about that. Do you think there'd be a really good following of a Northern Hemisphere versus Southern Hemisphere game in World Rugby? I think there would be. Okay, well that's it for my fantasy selection of these 2 teams. Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, I read all of the comments, so I'm excited to see what you guys and girls come up with as well, and I'll be checking that out as this video is posted. Okay, that's it for me in this video. Don't forget to stick around here on Inside Rugby with Mark. I've got lots of rugby content coming up, got some really good interviews about to happen on this channel, so hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, share it with all your rugby mates around the world, and let them know there's this crazy Kiwi guy in Cancun, Mexico making videos about rugby. I'd be really, really grateful for that. Okay, I'll be back again soon in another video. Until then, stay safe, stay well everybody, and bye for now.